You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome to what we think is going to be, the most important of the, week-by-week podcast, I think. Round zero's out of the way. We are now, 22 hours and... Would it be? 22 hours and 12 minutes away from the bounce of the very first game that counts towards our fantasy teams. We're both still deciding right up until the final hour who we're having, but I guess we can have a look, over the common fixtures and see, what needs changing. Nathan, what are you thinking?
Yeah, there'll still be probably 20 or 30 changes between now and the end of the weekend. So, yeah, not sure how many players get to stick around. I think by now we probably have a good idea. There's maybe 12 to 15 names on field that we've all probably got locked in our heads for what we want, and then it's just getting those last ones right, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with those opening round locks, which we went over in our last podcast, the round zero preview, which is out on your YouTubes and Spotify's by the time you're watching this. And yeah, mate, I think we should just crack straight into it. We've got a lot to cover. Round one, Richmond Carlton, as it should be, the first round of the season. Although I'm not opposed to having the grand final rematch as the opening game for each season, but that's, I know how we love tradition in the AFL. But
as long as it's the first game of round one, I think that's a lovely thought. Have a grand final rematch, have the two prelim rematches maybe. There's a few ways to do it, but yeah, I think they're loving that extra week of primetime TV, aren't they?
Rugby boys over in Vegas take all of what they can get while they're here. No, that's what the AFL's about. But yeah, Richmond Carlton, and the first things that stick out when I see lineups, I see a Luke Traynor lining up on a halfback flank. I see Sam Lawler on field, and also we've got ourselves a Lucas Camporelli all on field. And those are the ones that have taken my interest and are in my fantasy team for the time being, because I just want to lock in those rookies that are on field. Don't go hoping for those rookies in later games that might not turn out, and then you're really in struggle town before the first round's even finished, eh?
Yeah, so try and break down these rookies. I reckon we'll start with Camporelli. So bit of blue blood in that. We probably didn't look at him too much this preseason. We didn't really think he'd be much of a chance to play. All the talk was Jagger Smith out of Carlton. Obviously, he went down hurt, so Camporelli's going to get a chance early, listed out on that wing. I'm a little reluctant to start him just because his junior numbers aren't anything special, and I'm not quite sure if he's got the job security as some of these other rookies, especially in the midfield. A lot of these other guys, like if we're talking the Finn O'Sullivan, Levi Ashcroft types, where you're pretty confident they should be there, all season long. I'm a little worried about Camporelli, but if you want to start him, at the very least, it's a green tick on your bench for the first game of the season.
Yeah, he's actually, I think, sat on my utilities at the moment. Just, there he is as someone that doesn't need to get anywhere near my team. But basement price, it's also that sub risk with him as well. But I don't know, what road they're going to go down there. But I guess we'll find out as the round goes on. But moving on to those players that are going to be getting our points. And we've got Jaden Short up there, locked in pretty much since the fantasy game opened. We've talked enough about him, his role in Richmond. He'll be, as you say, what is it, Nathan? The only player over 14?
Something like that. Don't overthink it. Just put him in your team, guys.
Yeah, don't try and be special. A hero in round one. Yeah, perfect. Blues? I'm starting to Koenig. For obvious reasons again, with our mate, the Pitbull Pitnet not starting for the first bit of the season. We've seen what Tom Koenig and Carlton can do when he's the solo man in there. And I see this game being an absolute thrashing, as well as most of poor Richmond's games are going to be. And yeah, we've got a few of those some of those Carlton midfielders to be looking at as well. Nathan, if any, who would be your pick out of those guys?
I think out of them right now, it might be Chera in the lead, but as things stand, I don't have any of them. I think you've got a couple of the opening round players in our midfield that put their hand up pretty clearly. You've still got Clary Oliver, who should be a lock in all of our sides. You don't really have room for any of these guys left. Maybe if one of them had a defender status to their name, it might make you see a bit easier. But otherwise, Chera, Hollands, Doherty, I don't think we can do it. If you really want to restructure your team and have all mid prices, you can do it. But otherwise, might be a bit difficult.
Yeah, I think just on them, Chera, we know what his record is every year. It's just, is this one going to be his year? Is this one? And it quite possibly might be this one. But yeah, I just don't trust him from previous record. Holland's new to a role, which is normally a good thing, but I don't know. We've seen a sneak peek of it at the end of last season where I wasn't too impressed. He was doing what you'll do in that sort of role, but nothing more, nothing special. And I don't know if he'll keep it for the whole time as well. And Doherty was in my team for a lot of the preseason, but he just hasn't shown enough to be kept in there. And with, as you can see, those mid prices of Callahan and Day tearing it up in round 0, also Oliver being a must-have, Peeling with a new role, he just didn't show enough for me to squeeze him in.
Yeah, I think that's about it, really. Maybe there's been a little talk about Jack Silvani. If he wasn't a forward only, I think it would be a worthwhile shout.
Mm-hmm.
But our forward lines have 4 absolute must-haves, maybe 5 must-haves.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think we can really squeeze that in, can we?
Yeah, no. 2 rookies on the bench as well that are pretty locked in there, as well as Horn Francis in my case, but that could easily be someone like a Rankin or another one of those sort of edge of premium types. Other than Richmond, nothing else in there. Oh, you're meant Taranto, but I just think when they're going to be getting smashed by so much each game, I'll stay away from them personally.
I'm not opposed to Taranto. I think if it wasn't for there being so many of those 600 to 800k mid prices that we want, I'd be a bit more keen on him. But right now, there's probably 2 spots in your team you can argue for him. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us are liking Rosé for the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I've had Brayshaw in my team at M1 all year long. So I just can't squeeze him in. But I do think Taranto could be a very good scorer. As much as Richmond are going to struggle, we've seen guys like Tom Mitchell pop off in struggling teams. We saw what Tom Rockliff did in a pretty shocking Brisbane side, right? So the idea that, Richmond won't have the ball, so this player can't rack up, I don't quite buy into that. He's got probably access to 30 tackles a game if he wants that to his points.
Yeah.
He's going to be a lot of centre bounces. There'll be a lot of goals kicked against him, so that's just more opportunity to get involved for him, really.
Yeah, and the sort of another negative to go with Taranto, unfortunately, playing for Richmond, is that he won't get any games against Richmond to boost his score either.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But I think that's the main one. I think we've covered those 2 teams. Let's just make sure we remember, guys. So it's a rolling lockout. So any Carlton or Richmond players, whether they're on your field, on your bench, that has to be done before the game starts.
Yeah.
The rest of your team can be, still moved around, but those players you have to have locked in. Same for if you're going to captain one of those players or something like that as well. So if you're thinking a cheeky De Koning captaincy or vice captaincy, make sure you've got that done before the round starts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's simple to. I mean, you can keep your team empty apart from your Richmond and. As long as they're not captained, your Richmond Carlton plays if you wanted to, and then work around there. But just making sure they're in at the start. Game 2, we got a taste of Hawthorn earlier. We saw Will Day put on an absolute clinic into his, will work his way into our teams. Bombers meant to have that early game, obviously ruined, like me, by that Cyclone Alfred. And lineups won't be out yet. But looking at some players around that space, Nathan, who have you been looking at from those two teams?
So as you touched on, Will Day, I think that pretty much has to be in our team after what he did in opening round. Just such a great score built in. Now you know you've got reliable cash gen, even if he only has pretty average games the next couple of weeks. So I think that one pretty much has to be a lock in our sides. A couple more. So you got your Dylan Moore types, James Sicily's, so your premium options in their lines that underperformed a little. It makes it a bit harder to jump on them. Meeky, I think, is a reasonable shout if you wanted to go for Meek in your ruck. I think
Look at that, 11% owned now.
upside.
I reckon he would have been 2 or 3 before the game.
He's not a bad option. Like we don't talk about him. He's not as exciting as some of these other rucks that have got new roles or anything like that. But it's just a ruckman that's growing into his role, growing into his body. He just looks more confident every time he goes out there, doesn't he?
Yeah, and showed that in opening round too, albeit against a aging Big Keefy, Lockie Keefe. But yeah, showed what he can do. Especially, I feel like Hawks are playing a bit more flexible, allowing him to get forward and get involved in plays other than Rockman's, which I think is the main key to these players. With the likes of Jerry, who play a bit like that pseudo midfielder. You've got Marshall, who can play as one of those extras as well. Gorn's been doing it for years. DeKonig. So I think that's where the money is, and if they're letting him do it, and with that score, I don't mind it. Don't really want to stay too long on the Hawks since we yapped on about them in the opening round review, but onto the Bombers. I don't like a lot of them now since they didn't play in that opening round. We missed that sort of free look at them and how they're going to line up. But is there anyone you're looking at from Essendon, Nate?
Yeah, it makes it tough. They've got one less week of scoring for you, so all your premiums you're going to struggle with.
Yeah.
And then, when you've got some players like a Will Day who's got guaranteed cash gen, these Essendon players, well, they just don't have that. They didn't get their early game, so it makes it a lot more difficult. It doesn't mean you can't pick them, but it's just a touch harder.
Yeah, it makes it a lot trickier.
When we're looking at Essendon, premium-wise, you've got your Zach Merritts, your Nick Martins, who'll score really well, but is there upside in them? Probably not. You probably wait till we're getting into upgrade season for that one. So really, I think it's just the rookies to look out for Essendon.
And just touching on Nick Martin, what his role, saying, he's not off halfback now, he won't get those points. He's one that'll just go where the footy goes, and I loved watching him in some of their practice games, the way he, sort of job he has in the team, a really good one to watch. Merritt, I think this was his 10th season now, going over 100, so he's, when it comes to doing what it says on the tin, he's the guy, but probably not to start with for me. In terms of rookies, like you were saying, I'll start off with El Hawley, 33% owned. There's no guarantee he's even going to be playing round one, let alone starting or not getting subbed. So here's one we can just, sweep under the rug. He had some good junior and second team numbers, but again, just can't go him if we don't know he's going to be playing, which is the number one thing we want for our rookies. Kako, man, he was great in that Pracky game, wasn't he?
Yeah, he played really well, and he's confirmed to be playing in round one. Unless there's some late injury or something, knock on wood. But it should be just a reasonable pick. I think he's going to have job security, which is probably the most important thing with these rookies.
Yeah,
he's not going to average anything crazy. Don't expect him to come out and do what Sheasel did or something like that from a couple of years back. But if he can just give you a 60 every week, and it doesn't even need to be that much, honestly. If he's giving you 50, 55, you're not upset. Like, it's just a bit of cash gen on your bench.
What do you see him going?
I'd probably have him in that 55 to 60 range. I think
me too.
He showed he gets up the field enough to get involved.
In his junior years too.
Yeah, I think he should go all right. He's not just like a small forward. He actually pushes up.
Exactly,
half forward a bit. I wouldn't expect 4 goals every week. I'm sure Essendon fans would love it if he could do that. But
Well, 4.99, and with Draper with that .01 on the goal line.
Yeah, but I'm sure they had a chat about that one in the room.
Make sure of it. But yeah, again, 65 average in his under 18 years and 85 in his coat. So yeah, like Nathan said, he will push up the grades. Just a bit of energy in Essendon as well. You spoke about guaranteed debuts. The other one that was spoke about on the Essendon socials, Jackson Pryor, my guy from the Brizzy Lions. Yeah, wouldn't get a gig there, so he moved over, which I love, and it looks like he'll be going on a wing, sort of half-back flank type role, and yeah, be getting some more opportunity there.
Yeah, I don't mind it. So you'd think of him just as an expensive rookie. You don't try to think of it as an experienced player at that price. He hasn't shown that much scoring potential at AFL level. In the twos, he goes all right. At the top level, though, I'm not even sure if that's enough value in him, really, to go to the start. I mean, he's priced at 35. If he's only going to push, let's say, 50 from that price, which that's already putting him at close to his best season, it's probably not worth the pick. Maybe you feel a bit stronger about his role at Essendon, and if you do feel that way, that's fine. But even then, I think I'm happy to just not start with him. And if I see something in round one that changes my mind, then I'll look at bringing him in after that. Yeah. But until I see it, I'm happy to just fade this one.
Yeah, likewise for me. Looked okay for, 63 in the Pracky games I think he had. But we know those outside numbers were boosted because, players weren't running hard to shut down a winger or someone that's not going to have an impact, so don't get too, pulled in by that. Other than that, your man Sardis, is he still in your team?
Not anymore. So, I think him and Shield both as mid-prices. I think they both made a case that you could start with them. Sardis, I was the one more keen on. I think just missing that early game, right? Now we're just going to have one less week for him to generate cash compared to some of these other mid-prices. You just can't do it. I wasn't necessarily any more confident in him than I was in a Will Day.
Yeah.
But now I know Will Day's got a guaranteed 100 and whatever it ended up being in opening round. Whereas Sardis, you don't have that. You're going in blind. If he does have a couple of 60 to 70 point scores in those first few weeks, then he's got the bye. He misses a game. I just don't think you can do it. I think it's going to be tough. A lot of these players from Essendon, Brisbane, Geelong, and who am I forgetting?
Suns.
It's going to make it a lot harder to pick those players. Unless they were locks already in your team, they're just a player that's missing a week. So whether that's a big score from a premium you're not getting, or cash gen from a mid-price or a rookie, you just miss out. So, there's always going to be better options elsewhere, right?
There was already, sort of those flags with Pryor, because I was looking at him just with, shortened defensive stocks. But, when that missed, he went straight out of my team. Quick disclaimer, don't go near the Essendon Rocks. They'll be splitting that. Shield, we're not too sold on with the, again, a bit similar to Holland from Carlton. He has the role, but, as far as how well he does it, we're not sure on how that'll go. It's also a mid spot where we've talked about with those mid prices anyway. We didn't touch on it in the Carlton Richmond game, but who's your tip in this one?
I'd have to say Hawthorn, wouldn't I? I mean, they just look a much better squad than Essendon. I think Essendon probably going to struggle a lot this year. Pretty
renewed Scott for a couple of years as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they renewed him. It's always interesting when you get a coach extending their contracts before the season's even started. Especially for a coach like Scott that's not necessarily done anything or not at Essendon yet. But if that makes them more comfortable with him, then that's what they can do, I guess.
Yeah, have Hawks by 22 in this one. Then I also, obviously, I'm going Carlton by, 62 in the...
not back in the Richmond upset.
No, not at the $10.50 odds.
They usually have pretty close games, I've found, over the years for that opening fixture, even when Richmond were a lot better than Carlton. I feel like Carlton were competitive. So hopefully they at least put up a fight, the Tigers.
Yeah, that's all we want to see, good footy. We don't want to see a blowout, especially on the first game of round one. Cats v Dockers. Cats obviously now without that round 0 game are an interesting one to look at since, with the sort of, without Bailey Smith there, I don't know how many of them we were looking at in our team, but Smith, get him in, just move on past it. I'm not even gonna address it. He's there. Who else for the Cats? Holmes in that defensive line. The thing that's putting me off him is, just the Cats midfield, how they rotate all through. I think I have it down here somewhere that their top 3 were like 95, 90, and 85 averages or something. And it's just, for starting, someone like that's not what I really want to see. But the main difference now with, Geelong and Brisbane at least, who missed their opening round games, is that you have the luxury of starting a premium from those clubs if you want to with them, Nath.
Yeah, I think for mine, I'm just going to be dodging, outside of Bailey Smith, any of these Cats players, outside of rookies, and we can touch on that a little bit. I think, any of these Holmes or Stewart types, Lawson Humphreys, it's just hard to see them having enough upside, given they just get one less week than a lot of our other players early in the season. So, I think it's a bit hard to really jump on any of them. In terms of rookies, though, I think the main one I want to look at, and he's almost in mid-price territory at 431k, but Mitch Nevitt.
Yeah, I'm glad you're touching on him.
22-year-old, so he's not a kid anymore. He's had a couple of cracks at the top level already. It sounds like he's going to be in their best 22.
Mm-hmm. Big body.
Yeah, I think he could go all right. We see a lot of players come through Geelong, and they just really early on in their careers look like they can play. They train them well down there. They feed them well down there.
Was this guy getting fed?
Yeah,
Tomahawk steaks.
God, that's good work for me. I think that's probably a good one to look at. If that was in our forward line or our back line, I think it would be an absolute lock to have Nevitt in our teams.
Defense.
I think in the midfield, it's a bit harder, but it's a definite option. Again, if you're not comfortable starting him, you can wait a week.
Yes.
You're not going to increase in price too much in 1 week.
No.
But the same could go the other way, and we'll talk about maybe even a Freo player at a similar price point. There's nothing wrong with starting one of them, and if it goes poorly, it's an easy price to shift to a rookie you missed or another 400k player that's shown they've done well in round one. So I don't think there's too much risk involved with it, which probably makes it one of the better picks.
Wait and watches, yeah. I'm a big fan of that, and I'm a big fan of this guy as well. Just an absolute bloody unit. 22 years old, my goodness. Not a lot else to really look at in terms of value options here. Yeah, Connor O'Sullivan, a few have had a look at, but I'm not too convinced on his role with them. I think, moving on to Freo, that's where we've got a lot more options in there. I think we're just going to start with the top with your man, Nathan, Andrew Brayshaw, or, was it Concrete Hooves, I've been calling him in pre-season. But you're still keen on him, yeah, why is that?
You just look at what his numbers have been over the last few years, and last season was a slight drop-off with a couple of niggles, patch where he wasn't even pure midfield like he should be. So, look, he's back in his main role. I think there's even just 5 points of upside in him. I think is very realistic.
Great.
And someone I'm just happy to start, feel very safe about as well. Like some of these other mid or premiums in the midfield, even like a Rosie type, who I'm confident on. There's every chance he's the sort of player that could drop down in his average, right? We think he's going to burst up, especially with some missing players, Butters out. But I think Brayshaw, you just feel safer about it. So I'm happy with him at M1. Not a lock by any means. That's one of those spots it can be.
I haven't got him.
Any of your premium midfielders that might just have a few points of upside if you think they have that in them.
Yeah, like you said, looking at his numbers, average of 113 post his bye, and when Young gets back in Sarong there, he'll be, won't be their main man tagged. So yeah, I don't mind the pick. I just can't, justify a 1.07 mil guy who hasn't looked amazing. I know it's just pre-season, but yeah, watching him has been kind of gross recently, and I don't want to continue on that trend for me.
A player of his standard, I don't think you worry about pre-season. It's just, did he get injured? No, he can be playing my team. I think it's that simple.
Yeah, great. Well, talking of pre-season watches, this guy's on everyone's lips. My man, Nathan O'Driscoll, 441k price point. He's been in the CBA. He's putting up some massive, I think he had a 44-point quarter in their Pracky game against, who'd three of us? And there's...
The Melbourne game or the All-Stars one? Were there two?
The second one, not the All-Star. Didn't look too much. Yeah, it was against Melbourne. Yeah, I think he just really impressed me. He had a 0-point quarter one, which is interesting, but I think that's just the ebbs and flows of the Fremantle wings. I think they're either hot or they're not. I'm willing to take the chance on him priced at 50, especially when you can fall back on those Nevitt types if they don't go to plan as well. But obviously you'd like him to. I think I had some stats. Yeah, so on the CBAs in that Pracky game, so Brayshaw's at the top with 23, Sarong had 16, Johnson 16, and then O'Driscoll 13. So he was dipping his head in there, so a good mix of inside-outside, which we like in our players. And yeah, I'm happy to give him a chance in my squad in the midfield, just as a sort of inflated rookie.
Yeah, you'd probably expect Hayden Young to bump up those CBAs a bit as well. Yeah, I think O'Driscoll's a definite option. For me, if we're making the comparison with Nevitt, I'd feel more comfortable starting a Nevitt.
Whoa.
I think he can't go as wrong as an O'Driscoll can. So I think that's where I'm a bit more comfortable with him. O'Driscoll, if he does have a great score, it'll be a much easier transition that direction than the other way.
Yeah, fair point. I think we saw Sharp on that same Freo wing. He had 14 or something from 70%, time on ground or something. So it just shows, the safer picks are in those sort of inside mids. But I've liked what I've seen with him, and I think he's one I'm going to be sticking with. The other one we're really looking at is Murphy Reid as a rookie as well, but hasn't shown too much in pre-season for an 18-year-old mid, has he?
Yeah, I'm sure, again, good role. He's the sort that probably will score well if he's in the team. We don't know if he's in the team, and if he gets in, it's a definite sub-risk as well.
Yeah.
So it just makes it tough, doesn't it?
Subbed on against Melbourne in that, got his 5 CBAs and looked all right, but maybe one to look at in the later games. Sarong is an option. Yeah, if you like him, I don't mind. He's looked great, looked very, very quick. Other than that, in terms of value, we were both excited on Erasmus early season, but he's sort of dropped down.
He's a constant sub-risk as well.
Yeah, and that's if he's playing a bit like Murphy Reid as well. Who have you got in this one, Nath?
Who would I have in this one? I think I'll back the Cats to start the season well. I feel like they're usually pretty strong starts.
Yeah. At GMHBA as well. Apparently it's going to be a really, really hot day there, which Freo have been training in. And I'm big on Freo, but just start of the season, I'm going to say Cats by 8 in a close one for me. Next game on the Saturday afternoon. Grand final rematch. Swannies v Brisbane in Sydney. Nathan, who have you got in this early crow?
I wouldn't be shocked if Sydney come out a bit of a point to prove, both grand final wise and from opening round. I think they might just have a bit more hunger, and it's one of those ones as well. Again, opening round sucks, but one of these teams has had a proper run at it. The other one hasn't. So I think that just adds to a bit of that.
Does come into play, doesn't it?
We might see a few a few Brisbane players cramping up before Sydney players.
God.
Which
Interrupted pre-season for Lions as well. Won't help.
Yeah, there'll still be a bit of that. So obviously you're not going to write off the reigning premiers, but Sydney will still be a good side this year at home. I'm happy to back them in.
Yeah. I'm still back in Brisbane. Surprise, surprise. Think, the psychological grand final win will just be too much for him. But looking at the fantasy side of things, main option. Well, we haven't looked at many Brisbane players, have we? Just due to the it was Eula opening round, and there wasn't a great host of rookies. It's just looked like rinse and repeat, except for one guy that should be locked into your teams, Levi. Just big player. I don't think he's going to be a sub risk. I think they're going to ease him in a bit like they did with Will, where he played out some games, albeit not in the ideal roles he'd like to be playing, but just drilling those minutes into him. He's done some big things in his junior ones and in his one game at the adult level in the VFL. I think I've got it here, a 145 in the VFL from his one game he played there, and he's looked good in preseason. Just no brainer, get him in.
Yep, nothing to add to that. It's pretty straightforward pick.
It is, yeah.
His brother Will, I know a few people have started jumping on him.
I've been looking at him.
That's an interesting one. So Brisbane missing that opening round game means Will Ashcroft won't have a bye in round 3 like he would have previously. So it probably adds to his value a little bit, knowing he's not going to miss a week. But it also means we don't get a free look at him like we did with a Callaghan or a Day. So
what do you need to
for
see?
all we know, you start on an Ashcroft and let's say he scores a 70. Not a disaster, but certainly not a good pick.
Doesn't start in the right way, 70,
then it just sort of sets you on the wrong path. Whereas when you've got guys from opening round that had a very clear role, a good score built in, or even if you wanted to look at like a Clary Oliver, who's cheaper than Ashcroft, and we've seen Oliver go 110 plus however many years in his career.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have a lot more confidence elsewhere, I think. But like if you're backing in to take that big step up, you can go for it. But just be aware it's a bit more of a risk. You're hoping for natural development rather than what we've already seen with our eyes. So I think it's a bit easier to rely on what you already know.
It is, yeah. If I had more than 8 midfielders to put him in, he'd absolutely be in for me. A bit of a devil's advocate to you, Nathan. Priced at 85. His last 7 games, he's gone at 99.9, so hasn't quite broke that 100. But he's an absolute gun. He's shown that done on the bigger stage. Don't think we need to talk about that too much. What else? Has a full preseason now. He came in and did that off the back of an ACL last year, and after a full half season beforehand, full final series, full preseason, and off field, such a genuine professional and hard worker as well. It would not surprise me if he gets even above that 100 in the Brisbane midfield. In terms of value, I don't think we can go a Zorko priced at 110 or a Neil priced at 101, just since Neil's a genuine inside mid and doesn't quite do the fantasy relevant role for us.
Dump it at 107 as well.
Yeah.
A lot of these Brisbane premiums, they're pretty much at their max price now.
They are.
It's not to say you won't jump on them at some point in the season, but they're not really options to start.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers for it. For Dunkley also dropped his numbers right off when Ashcroft returned as well. Took a few more of those midfield minutes. No real rookies of note other than Levi, like we said. For the Lions, onto the Swans. Again, one we talked about earlier. Sheldrick's on we have to jump off now. Roberts solidified his spot in the team. What did he score? 105 or something?
Just over 100 mark.
Great. Perfect.
After
Price at 76.
Awful first quarter.
10.
Yeah, he just worked his way into the game. That'll happen with halfback. Sometimes you have a quiet little patch, but you can also have those 40, 50-point quarters in you. So
Exactly, yeah. Touched on it in the opening round review where, yeah, he's just a lock. His roles, yep, seen it with our own eyes. Get him in your defense, not many to look at. Premiums, no one that I really like of note.
yeah, nothing of
Grundy
real value.
dominated. He's not really relevant.
Probably
Cool.
the only other one I'd really talk about from Sydney, and I don't think he's a starting option, but maybe one you look to bring a few weeks in, was young Hanley coming onto the field as a sub. He
Yeah,
scored himself a 30 with about, I think it was 35% time on ground off
it
the
was
top of my
great.
head.
It's
Like,
fantastic.
he looks pretty comfortable. Basement price. Again, you're probably not starting because he's got a low score built in now compared to some of these other rookies, but you could easily jump on him a few weeks in if one of your other rookies is failing or have cashed up as much as you think they're going to. And that's also assuming Cannelly keeps his spot in the side, which I think he should. I thought he was pretty impressive
Golden's still to
for
come
a young
back.
player.
Mel's
But
still to come back as well.
yeah, it's
But
not going
no,
to be an easy side to keep his spot in. But just want to, keep an eye on. If you see him still on their list, in their 22 a month or so from now, just have that name in the back of your mind, because you don't want to come across a rookie player that you feel like you don't know anything about, so you have no confidence jumping on him. Like, just keep an eye on him. Maybe impresses the next couple of weeks and ends up in our teams.
Yeah, he was great. He was absolutely great from what we saw, and looked like he had quite a fantasy relevant game to him as well. On to Saturday night. Who have we got? First one, Dogs v North. A few relevant, interesting ones to watch here. Start with the Dogs. I know that locked into our forward lines, we've got Sanders. Bont not there is, a bump for him in those CBAs. Looked great in the preseason as well. Was it a 3-goal, 30-plus touch game, I think. Yeah, he's locked in. We saw Davidson as well in the Pracky games too, with that insane 100 and whatever it was. Also, what is it? Finishing off. Well, no, he's put his medical degree on hold, hasn't he? That's the story with him.
I've just got an extra doctor under the soft cap playing for it now. So
Smart. I like it.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Another one that, I'll let you talk about him, Nathan, has snuck his way into my team, into my defense, is in the form of Joel Frazier, second-year player, which completely shocked me. But, yeah, he's looked good, looked like he'll do a job. Looked good in the Pracky games with Dale out. Obviously, that's with Dale out. But, yeah, could have a role on that halfback.
Yeah, I don't mind. Frey's in my team at the moment as well. I'm not convinced on him. Like, if he wasn't a defender, he wouldn't be in consideration for me. But just with some of those backstocks struggling, priced at 61, he went at 87 in his last 5. If he can get close to that 80 mark, then I'm pretty happy. But it's just hard to know what his role's going to be at the Dogs, which goes for most players at the Dogs, I suppose. I probably don't even need to say that. But yeah, it's just one you're not going to feel comfortable picking. There's potential for great upside compared to some of the other defenders. Like, his amount of upside could be better than a Matt Roberts, right? But you just have no confidence in it. Like, for all we know, he's going to have a couple of stinkers, end up playing some completely random role where he can't score. Like, maybe he ends up back on a wing or something, and we just don't want that, really.
No, and I'm glad the look he is getting in my team is against North as well. A bit of an easier fixture. Hopefully he'll get some of those easy chips plus 6s at the end of the game. Although this one could be could be closer than a lot of people think. Who else have we got from the Dogs?
We got Tim English. I think there's probably a bit of upside in him from last year. I don't know if I'd have him over some of our other ruck options, but
no,
it's a definite choice. Like, you can do it. I just think there's probably a bit more. You're more comfortable captaining a Sherry, or you're more confident getting value out of De Koning or Meek or Darcy Cameron. Maybe even Gorn might have a bit more value in it. But look, we saw what he did 2 years ago. If he can get back to that, then great pick. I just don't think he's quite going to reach that level.
Yeah, what was it? I think, the reason for those low numbers last year as well, he was in the highest scoring midfield in the comp as well, with his Trelaws, Bonts and all that around, where he won't have that for the first few games. Lib is an interesting one, because we know he's not typically a fantasy relevant player, but he might, he'll be the man in that midfield with no Bont, no Trelaw for the first bit. He looked great in the preseason. Could he be a smoky?
I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think he's really shown enough of a fantasy pedigree. Like, great player, but I'm just a bit worried about that. And then obviously he's had some concussion issues recently as well, which is always a concern. Yeah. It means they're just going to be extra careful with him when they can. Not that he's an easy player to be careful with, but yeah, he's probably priced at what he's going to give you. Maybe there's a few points in it, but a few points isn't enough when he's already at nearly 900,000.
Yeah, scored a 64 in the first quarter of that Pracky game is an interesting one to look at, considering he's priced at 88. And no Richards as well in that midfield. I think what else? Dale, well, he can't start him, but he'll be an interesting one to watch when he gets back to his full straps. Now on to North, Nathan. One guy on our minds is Harry Sheasel, picked by nearly 55% of the comp. Gee whiz, priced at 112. You'd want to that.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see how you can start that. Maybe you got some people coming across from Supercoach that have the limited trades where it's a bit more of an ideology to have these season-long keepers. But in fantasy, you need value at every position. It's hard to see him having value, right? And the other thing is he's not gonna hurt you if you don't start him, right? Like if he improves 2 or 3 points on his average, which is about the best he could do, he's not running away from you. These other teams, they're not generating that same cash. Whereas if you've got, maybe it's a Jaden Short in his position at D1, he's going to make you 200K that Sheasel just won't. So you're going to come home back half of the year a lot stronger if you just avoid these really maxed out premiums like a Sheasel.
And you're happy to miss out and sacrifice those 25, maybe 30 extra points they get per week, just to know that you're generating that value. That's the main aim of the game for the start of these seasons. Onto a less
gets your rookie off field as well, right? Like Sheasel down to a short is about 320K.
Yep.
You know, that's enough to get. Maybe it's an Ashcroft you're not confident with or something, or a Draper or a Langford. You can get them all the way up to a Peatling, right? So it's not like you're just losing these points. You're probably gaining a lot of those points back, just in a different line.
Yeah, glad you brought that up. Onto a less contentious pick. That's Caleb Daniel Ford. I've seen his role in preseason as well. He's just a lock. Priced at 50. He's gone at 85 plus in the last 5 years in a much harder fantasy role as well. We've seen what those North halfbacks can do. Your Zeebles, Halls, McCurtis, Fishers, Sheasel. We've talked about it all preseason. I don't even want to hear it from you, Nathan. That's just get him in there. Tom Powell's looked great. Price at 79. Yeah, that's one I do want to hear from you from, actually.
I'm probably just not comfortable doing it. Again, in the midfield only, where you've got Olivers, you've got your Days and Callahans that have come out already and shown they can do it. And again, with the Tom Powell, we're just hoping for natural progression, right? We're hoping he locks away a role in that midfield, which he may well do. And even then, how much upside is he going to have? He's not shown that he's an outstanding scorer by any standards, right? So priced at 79, and that's his best average to date. Yep. He probably improves a little on that, but how much does he need to give us? Like, if he's going anything below 90, it's probably a bad pick. And is he going to go above 90? I don't necessarily think he is.
Exactly. I wish I had some more numbers on him on hand, but yeah, exactly. You just go with what you've seen. Who else we got? Yeah, Parker was in my team for a stint, but we've seen he hasn't quite got the role we want. LG with that role as well.
Just another lock in our midfields as well. Already confirmed
course.
starting. Finn O'Sullivan.
There he is.
Another one to probably just make sure you've got. I think out of the midfield rookies, he's probably the most promising in terms of scoring potential, and then also job security. He's at North. They're not going to drop him.
No. They've been quite generous with their rookies' minutes as well. Yeah, just shown in previous years.
He'll walk in. They'll give him responsibility. He's probably a top 10 player at the club already. So,
gosh,
should be an easy one.
Locked in on a wing on halfback as well. Yeah, been drifting across there into the midfield. So yeah, great pick.
And probably just the one player left to talk about. Big bloke, probably sitting there with a captain's armband for a lot of people. I think it's one. Well, he's been in my team just about all preseason, or certainly since Marshall went down.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I don't think he's a lock though.
No,
you don't need to do it. I think some of us really want to do it, and it's great to just have a captain you can rely on. You don't have to.
Post buy.
If you're confident in some of these other rucks, like maybe you want to roll with De Koning plus Gorn. If you think they've both got upside, they're both going to make you cash, you don't need to start Sherry. Right? So don't be afraid to go against the grain. And maybe he has a rough couple of weeks, right? What if he does come out and average 90 for the first month, right? Now, I think he'll do better than that. But hypothetical, he comes out, averages 90, drops 100K in cash, and you've sat there with your Darcy Cameron, who's made you 100K, and then you just make that switch a month into the season. You still end up with Sherry. You've probably scored the same points and you've made more money. Like similar argument to a Sheasel in defence. It's a little different in the ruck, but I'm just saying it's not a lock. He's still in my team as it stands. So full transparency there. But I just want to put that thought out there that you can go elsewhere if you want.
Look at those fixtures as well. So English we've seen previously as a generous one, but then he goes Gorn, Riley O'Brien, Adelaide, Grundy, a previous All-Australian, all in his next three. So it's not friendly fixtures for him as well. But no, get him 125 post buy. He's going to be the highest scoring player in the league again. Mark my words. That's about it for me. Get the double points on him as well. You want that safe captaincy option. But then again, if you feel more comfortable with, a Sheasel, a Brayshaw, your man, Nathan, someone else like that is going to pump out a reasonable score, then feel free to go with them as well. But I think Ruck's the safest position in terms of where floor is. And look, they can have a bad game. It's just not going to hurt you as much as some others. McCurtrell's promising on at the start, but he looks like he's playing a wing and half forward, so won't get those same halfback numbers. Who are you going, Nathan? I've got Dogs by 3. I reckon it's going to be a good game, this one.
I'll give North a win. I think
they
only get a few wins a year, but you look back, a lot of the time it's in round 1 or 2, and then they go 4 or 5 months without a win. And then, I wouldn't be shocked. Dogs are missing enough players. Let's back a North start for the season.
Love it. Love the bold view. This one's probably going to be our watch along game 4. Hasn't been locked in yet. Follow the X socials for those on screen. But Pies v Port. We got another look at the Pies. Wasn't a great one for a Collingwood fan's perspective. I know my man at work wasn't too happy with it, but Dacos scored a 90. That'll drop his cash gen. Style of year, can't do it. Cameron we looked at, he's gone up in ownership as well. Nave,
he becomes an absolute option in our ruck line. We know there's going to be a bit of cash gen, and it wasn't like it was a score out of nowhere, right? Like we know he's a capable scorer, and he had a bit of upside knowing Cox is out, but obviously it was inflated a bit by Keefe being his opposition.
That's the one flag I want to put out there.
So the only question is, if you do go Cameron, is he someone you're trying to keep for a long time, or is that maybe what you do in order to not start Sherry you try and get that value with Cameron, and then come round 3 when he's on the bye, you move him on. That could be a play.
Yeah, pre-planned trades, though, I'm not a fan of them style. Yeah, you don't know what could go wrong with injuries, suspensions, just surprise subs, and the like. The other thing I'll quickly flag with Jerry is that we'll have the loop with those bye players after round 2 as well, and round 1, Jerry's got that generous fixture in the ruck is another reason to grab him at captain. Josh Dacos had his halfback role, but that was no Houston and didn't even score that well anyway. I think the more important team we want to talk about is the power. We've got a few of them in our team. Nathan's here in your midfield as well.
Yeah, I'm sitting with Rosie at M2 for mine. I'm just happy. I think he had injury issues last year. It was also his first year as captain, right? So there's just going to be a couple of little things that go his way, and that's all you need at his price for him to jump up 5 points of value and be a solid pick in our sides.
Yeah, for sure. Average 106 in 2023, down to 97 in 24. Just had that injury patch past round 7. He averaged 103 in games where he wasn't injured last year, and he comes in priced at 97 here as well.
We've seen him do it. So there's no hoping for him to just improve as a player. We just need him to be healthy, right? And that's enough. And then if he does improve as a player or butters out, helps his scoring, that's all bonus, right? So, I think that's a pretty comfortable pick.
Thing with him as well is that he, doesn't have. It was a small risk of going forward, but Butters not there. They need him in that midfield now as well. Someone else I think that Port need in their midfield. I need him at my F1 as well. Is the Horn Francis. I'm really excited for this guy. I think he's just got buckets of potential if he keeps that spot in the midfield. But like you say, Nathan, he unfortunately might be their best forward as well.
Yeah, it might be their best forward. I think sometimes there's concerns about his actual tank. Can he run out a full game? We've seen him start quarters on the bench.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he still does that this season. But yeah, I think it's a very good pick. It's a little difficult to fit players into our forward line. There's not really many spots to rotate through, but he can definitely take that F1 spot.
Yeah, I'm very happy with him. Port have decent fixtures to start as well, from what I remember. I think they've got, Richmond fairly early as well. So I'm, more than happy to have him. What else? Joe Berry was a rookie. Played at half forward, just wasn't the most friendly scoring option for them. And he's there to score goals, I think, as well, which isn't what we want to see in fantasy.
Yeah, we'll see if he's even named. But I'm happy enough to let that one wait a week first.
Finlayson off half back, my goodness. Who would have seen that? I think, who did I see someone wrote that, there were probably about 6 players that might have taken that Houston role, and I think they ranked Finlayson at number 44. And there he was, taking kick-ins, just loving life back there.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't read too much into that game. I think it was just one where Port had all of the ball against St Kilda, and even if they didn't have all of it, St Kilda notoriously let defenders score pretty well.
Yes,
so,
of course.
I'm not backing that in, but hey, if he does come out and absolutely smash against Collingwood, then maybe it's Port. But again, forward only. Like, you got to look at your forward line and think who's getting through for him to get in, because our forward lines right now, we're going to be pretty confident in most of them to outperform their price by a good 30, 40 points even. It's just hard to justify Finlayson. If he had defender status, it would probably be a much better conversation.
100%. Last year's winner was hot on Jordan Sweet at the start of the season, but we've seen him sharing that ruck with your man Soldo, Nathan. Can't go him anymore. And I think that just about sums it up for Port, I think. Am I missing anyone, mate?
One I want to touch on, just back on Collingwood as well, that we did skip over.
Oh, Perryman.
Big 4 right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Perryman, just I think he just ticked all the boxes last week.
Yep.
He doesn't need to be a 100-plus point scorer, but if he can give you 90 a week, you're pretty happy. And he did that in a game where not many Collingwood players scored.
Exactly,
So,
yeah. Tackling's
think
the main number of his game as well, and I think he only came out of it with 4. So if he can up that, keep those disposals, just kept on popping up everywhere, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, in a back line where we're struggling to find players, that's a pretty safe pick now.
He is,
pretty
yeah.
confident pick. I think you just put him in, right? I don't think you can really go wrong with it at this point.
Going up to that 44% owned as well, as people are catching on, unfortunately for us. Oh my god, just in the Cats game, we didn't talk about Koenig.
We have skipped to Koenig. Oh, no.
My goodness. Just quick rewind.
Quick one on Koenig. Yeah, so obviously it looks like he's going to have that ruck roll.
Yes.
We don't have any confidence in that at Geelong. They rotate rucks pretty frequently, but and it's probably one we would have preferred to play opening round, so we get a look. That said, I'm still happy to have him.
Yeah.
But this is one of those picks that can go wrong, right? Like if he ends up playing a defensive role like he has done in the past, then he's going to just be sitting there scoring really poor, like scoring less than some of our rookies, losing cash. It's just going to hurt. But man, is it a really good upside if he does just play solo ruck.
Yeah, well, if he can get half a game there, get his score up to a 50 or a 60, and then only gets 20 at playing back, then he's still outscoring his price, making us money. 87 average from his 5 games in the ruck. Stanley's not there. Blitzolf looks pretty settled down back, and Conway's out of there as well, isn't he? So some will keep in our minds. A good player to wrap up our Port v Collingwood fixture on. I'm not really hot on either of these teams, to be honest. I'll go Pies bounce back by 8.
Yeah, again, one of those situations where one team's played a game already and the other one hasn't. So you could see that being pretty beneficial.
On the Sunday morning at 11:35 a.m. for me. My goodness, I'm still going to be asleep. Crows versus your boys, Nathan. How about we'll start with them, with our Saints. A few of them we're interested in, aren't there?
Yeah, it's been a very fantasy relevant club the last couple of years. Hopefully we become more AFL relevant in the near future.
Finals relevant.
That'll be good. We played finals, 2023 we played finals, 2020. We've been just bouncing between 6th and 12th, though. That's the problem. In terms of our St Kilda stocks, we'll start in the forward line. I think Jack Macrae is an absolute lock. He might be the highest scoring forward in fantasy this year.
You think he'll be?
Right now. Yeah. Don't overthink it. Just put him in. Hugo Garcia looks locked into that midfield, at least until Philippo's back, which is a couple of months away. Absolute tackling machine, finds plenty of the ball. And we haven't seen it at AFL level necessarily. We've seen it in pre-season, but when he has gotten a run in AFL level, a lot of his scores were coming on as a sub, I should say. And his points per minute were really good too. So there's a lot of signs that if he is just pure midfield, he could push 80 to 90 points on average, very realistically. So another one to just lock in.
Yeah, look at that. Both of us were on him pretty early, you in particular. But how does that make you feel, seeing that 27% ownership now?
Yeah, it just keeps creeping up, doesn't it?
Couldn't have just stayed quiet for just a week
below
or two.
1% when I put him in. Here we are. Getting a bit ugly, but what can you do?
Yeah, everyone's man now.
Next one, probably our third St Kilda lock, Harry Boyd at R3. Just, look, if you've got an R3 that's going to be a green dot, you take it.
Yeah, basement price.
Yeah, and he's got the potential to actually score pretty well, right? Like, he's not going to give you Sherry numbers. Don't get any confusion there. But at basement price, think about what you'd take for a defender rookie right now. Basement price that could average 70 for you. Like, you'd be so happy about it. We should be happy about it in our ruck lines too.
Yeah, people have been trying to get funky with these picks that aren't him for 230k. Just don't do it. You don't need to. You'll be making as much money as everyone else, which will be the most out of those R3 options.
Yep.
Yeah, get him in like you said.
Yeah, that probably does it for St Kilda locks, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of players to consider still.
Yes.
So rookie-wise, you've got Hugh Boxall, could get a run early, looks all right at that 230k. You could
Looked
definitely
good.
go for it. Angus Hasty, 230k, looks very likely to be in the side early. So another one just to consider. Toby Travali is probably not one anymore. We're
No.
probably a lot more keen on him prior to the practice matches, and then he
My
just
God.
wasn't starting in those games.
He
So
was. I had him in my number 6 as must-haves, and he's not even playing now.
yeah, it's not the best list from you, but look, he'll be relevant at some point this season. Just maybe not one we start at the beginning of the year. I think that covers all the rookies.
Yeah, people have been talking about Hall or O'Connell, but I don't think they've got that sort of scoring potential you want to see.
Yeah, probably not as keen on them. In terms of your more expensive players, we'll start with Naziah Wanganeen-Miller.
Well.
Yeah, he's improved his average every year that he's been in the comp. He's improved as a player every year that he's been in the comp, and well, I don't see any reason why he doesn't tick over to 100 plus this season for his average. I think very good option. Just every opportunity he wants the ball now. He's demanding it a lot more.
Yeah.
Riley Bonner out of the team means there's a bit more opportunity both in open play and with kick-ins. So, I think he could be a really solid D1 pick for us.
What's happening with Sinclair?
He should be playing round 1 from all reports today, same as the big Rowan Marshall should be right to go.
Great.
You probably don't want to start those two lads just because they've had the interrupted preseason, but
Absolutely.
In all likelihood, Jack Sinclair will be a top 5 defender at the end of the season. Marshall's probably a top 2 ruckman at the end of the season. So they're guys you're going to want to trade in. We're just not going to start them on the back of that.
No.
That injury interrupted preseason.
Yeah, no, I think having Sinclair in there will be a boost for Nads because they were pushing him into the centre bounces at some points in their pracky game, and it just ruined his scoring. It's not him. Just trying to give him a trial run or whatnot in those games. It don't really matter, but let him sit there and do what he does best. A gun distributor, and that's what I want to see him doing in those games. Crows now, a few options for them. We've got Peatling in our midfield. I think he's a fantastic option. Yeah, priced at 62. He'll have a run through the Adelaide midfield, as will a few players in there. What do you think he can do?
Well, so long as he keeps the role, which again we're not confident on that one compared to some of these other guys where we've already seen it. That said, I'd be pretty confident he can average 85, maybe even push 90, 95.
Yeah, I think he can go 90.
Like he's been a good scorer before, right? So I think it was anytime he's attended over 60% CBAs, he averages 99.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so
even then, I've got another stat for you as well, which is even broader, is that when he wasn't the sub, which was in 10 of those games for GWS, he was averaging 87, and he's priced here at 82 for us.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
there's no guarantee he was getting that role there either.
Yeah, so long as he's got that role, this will be a great pick. And I think he should have it. All preseason, it looks like he should have it. So, yeah, I think he's one. Not a lock in our teams by any means, but I'd much rather have him than not.
I think he's a strong option. Yeah, 120 average in the VFL when he got dropped down there as well. So, yeah, he has those games where he can dominate too.
Only 8% owned too. I think a lot of people probably...
What?
Yeah, a lot of people would have moved him to get to a Day or a Callahan type. So,
boys.
He's probably the one that's gotten cut off a bit. But, yeah, I'm still pretty happy to have him. I think he's at my M6 at the moment. So, one slot further down the line. But
Ooh, it's 2 rookie. Okay, yep. That's a
yeah,
whole other conversation, isn't it?
should be a good pick.
Yeah, where do you want to go
Um,
next?
we'll stay in the midfield. Jordan Dawson, another one that should be a solid pick. You do worry a little bit they're going to move him around a little
That's it. That's just
throughout the
it.
games, which when he's already priced at 105, like, yes, there could be a little upside, but I think there's more concern than optimism around what his scoring is going to be this year. But again, if you just think he's going to be pure mid, he's done better than that average before, right? So
Yeah, a bit like Martin as well. He's one that, even if he's not playing midfield, he'll follow the ball wherever it goes, unless they plant him in the goal square, which is you talk about. But I'm more confident on him than I am on what's the name, Brayshaw. Just while we're at it, but anyway, yeah, that versatility hurts him. I think, keep it in the midfield down to a rookie.
yeah, I'm pretty happy to just lock Sid Draper in. Doesn't
Really?
have a picture yet for me yet. I don't know if is that the same on your end?
Yep, there he is. Silver.
Yeah,
Whose silver is that, by the way?
I don't know. We'll have to have a think. I remember in the UFC games, there's always like Brock Lesnar was the heavyweight one, and Bisping was a couple of the silhouettes. DJ. But again, off topic here. I'm just going to start blabbering. Yeah, I think Draper's one. Just watching preseason, I thought he looks really good. I'm pretty confident in his job security. There's obviously going to be a bit of a sub risk around it.
He's a massive sub risk for me. I think he's got it written all over him.
Yeah, I think it's one you probably just pick. You're just not going to field him, I'd say, is the big concern. You don't want to be fielding a rookie that you think could get subbed off.
Yeah. A few more on him. He had 6 games in the Sandful, 86 average with scores of 115 and 118 in there as well. And pick 4, so pretty highly touted too. Now, the hype man, I want you to talk about this guy. Rankin, does he go midfield time for Isaac?
Yeah, well, it looks a lot like it in the preseason, doesn't it? He was in there more than anyone else. Hopefully that actually stays in the regular season. I always make that comparison to Heaney, who year after year got midfield opportunity in the preseason, and then the actual season would roll around and he'd be back in the forward line, and eventually he got the run. Hopefully that's Rankin this year, right? Hopefully he's actually in the midfield, and he can easily put 15, 20 points of upside on his price point.
He's had the match sim, well, all their match sims and intra clubs there, like I said, are the most CBAs when it came to the cut and thrust too. And I think just from a pure sort of not desperation standpoint, but must do, I think Nix just has to throw him in the midfield, just put out that last resort before he goes down. I think he's just got to do it. Some more sort of options. I mean, Curtin just showed too much time forward, which we've heard, Rory Laird quote him as, one of the hardest, if not the hardest guy to tackle when they're doing their midfield drills, and they're just keeping him forward. So, some more interesting choices there. Cumming, we looked at start of the season, but just doesn't have the role for us. And, that's about it as far as the Crows go. I'm going in Adelaide, Crows by 34. I think it's a bit harsh, but they love starting a season around there.
I don't think it's that harsh. St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. I think it's something along the lines of we've won there once since we've played there. So I don't think too much is going to change. I think could be an uglier one. I hope it's at least a competitive game, but
it would surprise me if not. Adelaide looked strong in the pre-season, and obviously we saw what Saints served up against Port in their
I still don't read too much into that. We also saw GWS get flogged in their pre-season game, and then a week goes by, and I don't think anyone's remembering that at this point, are they?
No, well, what they're remembering is what they did against Sydney, which was just fantastic footy. Now they go to Melbourne against Melbourne. And I think I was a bit harsh on them in my pre-season table things. If they've got Gawn, Petrarca, Viney, and Oliver back to their best, man, they could be real force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on Melbourne. I think they've still got probably the best midfield in the comp when it's up and running, right? Like you got
Yeah, it'd be hard to
the
argue.
best ruckman in the comp,
Yep.
and then two midfielders that at one point in time have been considered either, the best midfielder of the comp on form or top 5 over the course of a year. So
Yeah.
it's tough to look past them.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of, best midfield in the comp, I think we've got the best midfield pick in the comp as well. And Clayton Oliver, a former All-Australian, priced at 78. Get some numbers off, but we've shown what he's done in previous years, Nathan, haven't we?
Yeah, he went 110 plus for the better part of a decade since he's been in the comp. Last year was a very clear anomaly for a combination of reasons, but by all accounts, it looks like that's in the past now.
Exactly.
He should go back to that at least 105 plus, but I wouldn't be shocked if he goes straight back to the 110s either.
Yeah, only 55% owned as well. That's ridiculous. But 114, 110, 112, 114 before this season as well. Looking much better, and I think we've already spent too much time talking about him, haven't we?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Keep
it in the midfield.
The rest of the midfield group. So Petrarca, I think we probably weren't looking at him too much, especially he had that rib concern in pre-season as well after all the stuff that happened last year.
Yeah,
it looked really tough, and there's always that concern of him moving forward as well. But he has shown in the past he can be a very good scorer. He's had averages of 108, 112 back in 2021. So when Melbourne were at their best, he was in the middle. If he's back in the middle, there's nothing to say he won't go 15 points upside, right?
Nope, nothing at all. Yeah, but just a lot of ifs, if, which isn't what we want to be starting our teams with around there. Not an if, but Gawn's going to be playing against Keefe in round 1, which could be an absolute monster to start him off. Again, as much as I love the X-Men Jerry at R1, I 100% have a case for Gawney coming back to his best as well.
Yeah, I've heard some talk it might be Nick Madden taking the ruck for GWS as well.
Oh,
so a nice 20-year-old. That's just a little entree for Max Gawn.
I know.
So I think could be one of those cash grabs early, big Max, and then move him along to a Sherry type. But obviously he's not cheap at 1.15 mil.
Yeah.
It's not like a Darcy Cameron who can make 200k. Gawn's not going to make you that much. But if he gets a hot start, which he's shown he's capable of, then could be a good pick.
Well, 8 games he went 120 plus in as well. I think it's worth highlighting. And had 152 against your man Rowan Marshall and they versus the Saints. Rivers we can't jump on anymore. That drop in CBAs when they were back at full strength. It's just taking that away from mine. Jump in some rookies. Langford's looked great, hasn't he? I really hope they give this kid a crack.
Yeah, Langford's been in my team pretty much all pre-season. I don't see any world where he doesn't start. Probably the other Melbourne rookie to talk about is young Lindsay as well.
Yeah,
he looks a good chance to get a run. How do you feel about those two? Do you have one clearly above the other, or?
Well, you have Langford ahead of him just because of that, inside minutes. I love what I've seen from Lindsay, though, because he's more of an outside player, but, he's shown that he's not afraid to put his head over the footy as well to win his own ball, which I love, especially since he's still a kid. But I think he's the more sub-risk, and he'll, have to climb over the likes of your, Sparrows and whatnot to get a real gig. But I'm happy with both of them, but a bit more of a wait and watch for Lindsay.
Yeah, absolutely. Giants, what have we got up in the GWS land?
Well, we've got one of the best players in the comp we saw from the first 2 games, so let's not get too carried away, but for now he's looking more and more of an option. Finn Callahan just tore up that Collingwood midfield, doesn't he? Just a mix of inside, outside, Massive score, kicked some goals, and just looked outstanding.
Yeah, I think pretty close to a lock after that opening round score. I'm still not sold on him as
I was
a
about to say, yeah,
long-term
you're
option.
talking this.
I do feel like that was his best game by far, and he still didn't score that much. Like when you think about some of the scores, Sherry was pumping up last year, for example. He wasn't hitting those numbers in what was his best game.
Yeah.
All that said, I think at his price, with a guaranteed cash gen early,
True.
that's what I'm very happy to just have. If it's only a few weeks, then that's fine. He'll make a bit of money. And if he does continue to put out scores, 100 plus, then he can stay longer, right? But
Yeah,
I don't
he's welcome.
Yeah, I will not be complaining. It's hard to see a world where I don't start him at this point. I think he just scored too much, and it's too much guaranteed cash gen, and that's what fantasy is. It's a money game. We've got to think about where the value is, and we've already seen the value in Callahan.
Yeah, well, that's just right. Yeah, Tom Green injured still for a little bit longer. They lost their Peatlings and their what's his name? They went to the Crows as well.
That was Peatling. You're thinking Perryman still?
Peatling. Right, wait. Oh, Cumming. That's what I was thinking of.
Cumming, you're thinking of. Yes.
Gone as well, yeah. Yeah, he'll get more of those CBAs as well, so his role's pretty well locked as well, which is a nice bit of confidence to have. Now, you've got an interesting one for Giants who we wouldn't be talking about without that free look. Tell me about 8.71% owned, 528k Sam Taylor.
Yeah, so probably below 1% owned this time last week. An absolute monster score, by far the best fantasy score of his career.
He will ever get, I think.
Yeah, he's not going to top that. But he doesn't need to top that. When we talk about some of these other guys being cash grabs for a few weeks, Taylor would only ever be a few weeks. He's not staying past his buy. But that said, if he even puts out a couple of 60s the next couple of weeks, he can make 150k for us that fast. Like, think about how slow these defensive rookies are going to be earning you cash. He does it in an instant. You move him on to someone else, come his by. I really like it as a pick. Like, The only downside is it's a bit of cash invested, and you're going to get less points than you might get with someone else at his point. But I think you're going to make that up in the long run with that extra cash.
Yeah, I 100% see the merit on it, but again, I'm sticking to my sort of second general rule of not pre-planning trades just in case we need to break the glass in case of emergency. But yeah, like I say, I 100% see the merit, and I think it's a great play. What else do we see? Leak didn't score great. Got himself a 42 with a goal as well. Gave away a few free kicks. That thing, I think he keeps the spot, and he was looking like he'd be the prime sub candidate if it weren't for Briggs going down. He only had 73 minutes on ground as well. It was like 50 or 60% time on ground, even without getting sub too.
Yeah, so, I think you can do it. Like, it's a basic price. It can't go that wrong, but I think there's a couple of others.
Unless you can't trade them out.
Well, that could be an issue, but usually you're going to have a bit of cash somewhere. But yeah, I think there's a couple of rookies ahead of him at this point.
Read in your trainer. Yeah. Keep them. A rookie we are more confident on, Connor Stone in our forward lines. Showed up with a 50, did the job. A bit comparable to Zach Reed, but won't get subbed, I don't think.
No.
Did what he said on the tin. We're more than happy to have him just stashed away there, just making us some cash for a basement price player.
Yeah, tick that one off.
Great.
What about Krzyzewski? How do we feel about him? So, scored better than both of those rookies prior.
Here he is.
20 years old.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't much talk about him this preseason, but out of the three, he definitely had the best opening round game.
Yeah,
I'm still reluctant
fantasy-wise.
But when you haven't heard much about him in preseason, and then they come out and play, does that say he was maybe a bit lucky to get his spot on the side, and he's already on the cusp of getting drops?
True. Well, Hogan wasn't playing, was he?
Yeah, so you miss players like that, and then that just makes me a bit less confident in taking him compared to some of the others. we want job security more than that extra 5 points of scoring he got, right? So
True. No, I'm glad you
think-
brought that up.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
just
still
in case people go point chasing. Yeah, and even then he was dropping chest marks and stuff all game. Yeah, missing easy kicks and yeah. Prefer Stoney. Keep him in there.
Yeah.
Who have we got in this game, Nathan?
I think I'm back in the D's in start the season strong.
Ooh.
I just feel like Melbourne will be a really good team this year. I don't know.
Yeah, if I could redo my ladder predictions in the the opening round preview app, which is still up as well, if you want to check that out, what our thoughts were, see how they came crumbling down. I'm sticking with the green machine, the orange machine, and the Giants. Yeah, keep them rolling
Kelly
on.
Underwood look good there. You can't even get the colour right.
Great. Well, I saw the G. That's what sold me, and they've got
The
two
Lynch didn't
greens.
do that.
The orange tsunami by 4. And what does this bring us to our last one for the preview? Yeah, dragging on. Oh, what a cracker to end on. Yeah, West Coast v
Absolute
Suns.
blockbuster.
Yeah, in Perth. I think if anyone's having an early night, that'll be fine. Sorry, West Coast and Suns fans, if you're watching. But yeah, in terms of fantasy options,
won't be too many to talk about. I reckon Gold Coast we can wash through in under a minute.
Yep.
Don't pick any of them.
correct.
Does that sum it up?
Absolutely. Could have gone Rioli. Wait, where is Rioli? Oh, there it is. Yeah, 4% now.
Yeah.
Flanders too much. Not a great deal of great rookies. And on to West Coast.
Yeah, they just have that early buy too, right? So they run into that issue as well.
Yeah.
Just makes it tough to pick them, and none of them were standout picks prior to the season or the preseason games anyway.
Yeah, gee. Well, there were a few that... God, I had three of these rookies in, maybe a couple of weeks ago. But Bo Allen, I'm pretty sure it's confirmed he won't be playing. So, yeah, obviously not one to start with there. There's 40% of the people who haven't logged on to fantasy since that news. Elijah Hewitt, I was really big on him. I had him on field hearing about the role and what he could do. But, yeah, he's just missed a few games and I have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not even sure if he's going to play round 1. If he does, I'm not sure if he plays round 2. Which, for a player we had a lot of confidence in, is pretty disappointing. But definitely one to still look at. Maybe he does play, comes out, looks very comfortable in round 1. So it's not to say we're never going to look at him again, right? Same as Bo Allen.
Of course.
They're just not players we're going to start round 1, are they?
No. Same goes for Hutchinson too. I think, was he playing forward or something? I heard.
They played a little bit forward, a little bit wing.
Yeah.
He just, again, inflated rookie price, right? Like he's not a basement rookie at nearly 400k. He's got to show some level of scoring potential, and I don't think he really did that for us.
Yeah, he's a great runaway here as well, so he's in the same boat as Hewitt for if they go out and bust it. Yeah, feel free to jump on them, but when we've got those two forward rookies pretty well locked in there, that's all good. Archer Reed, people have been going him instead of Boyd. I think just do the safe thing. Go with Boyd. You know, why wouldn't you? There's already enough ruck fighting in the Eagles. Just don't go there.
Yeah,
And
I mean, probably one interesting one I'd want to throw out there as well is Graham. So moving across from Richmond, he's shown he can score when he's got the opportunity in the middle, but he's never really had that opportunity in the middle before. Not for any extended period anyway. Priced at 65, I can see him realistically going 80 to 85 if he's just in that midfield constantly.
Yeah.
So it depends how West Coast want to take it. But like, he's only 27. It's not like they've brought over
I thought he was like 30.
Absolute veteran, right? Like his experience, he's in his prime, really.
Consistent.
So I don't buy into they're just going to run the kids through because Jack Graham's not going to be gone anytime soon. He can play there for another 5-6 years, be there when they're contending for another flag. So I think he could be a very solid pick. I think it's just, again, very tough to fit a player into our forward lines. And then you're starting to look at that midfield, and when players are putting their hands up in opening round and Clary Oliver's sitting there, it's just hard to squeeze him in. But
it is.
well, I don't mind it. If you're starting Jack Graham, I think absolutely good on you.
Yeah, I
Hope he
love
goes
it.
great. Hope he averages 90 and is an absolute knockout
I
pick.
actually do. Yeah. And End on Liam Baker's been playing across halfback. We know, yeah, sort of how he'll play. Gives everything. No such thing as a preseason game for that guy. And yeah, just a bit similar to your Hollands and whatnot. Like he'll keep the role, but I don't know how much ball he'll get there, especially playing for West Coast, and if he'll be the most reliable scorer for us in that already busy mid and forward line. Oh God, have
Finished.
we? Is
Got
that
through it
all
all.
of them?
We've managed it.
Yeah, so much for that hour episode you were talking about, Nathan. But
There's always going to be a bit more for
it
round one,
was, yeah.
because we've got to make decisions around 30 players, right?
Yep,
Rest
it's
of
not
the
two
season,
trades.
2 trades, or by rounds we get the extra trades, but much less decision making as the season goes on. It's important to
Yeah,
get off to a good start. Not the end of the world if you get a couple wrong, right? Like,
of
there's
course.
always going to be a couple of howlers. I think last year's winner started with a Buderick or something like that, who went for a 20 something in round one.
Yep.
So, well, don't be disheartened if a couple of picks go wrong. So long as the bulk of your team is generating cash and you've gone into the mindset of having value in every position, you should be able to make your way back towards the top end of the rankings in the back half of the year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we'll slowly reveal our teams as, obviously team lists come out on our X's on screen. Nathan at Fantasy, Nate O, me at BK_IFS. And if you still listen after all that, pushing the 90-minute mark. But thanks so much for sticking with us. Hope you picked up some, sort of tips and advice from, what we've seen and sort of what we can determine. Anything else from you, Nathan?
No, I think we've covered it. That was pretty in depth work from the both of us. Pretty happy.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll have our watch along going on. A game. I think we'll go with the Dogs v. What was it called? No, it won't they? Dogs are versing
The Collingwood
North.
Port game.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one.
Yeah.
But again, we'll bring that out as it comes through. Leave a like and subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube. If you're on Spotify, then leave a comment down there. Be a triple banger with the like, subscribe, and hitting the bell to keep up with what all the other awesome stuff the Insight team are doing. And we'll get back to you after the first round of footy fantasy. My God, hoping there's not too many sort of crash outs and delete apps in round one, but stick with it, and we'll talk to you then. Thanks, guys.